Hello, this video is about the Jowett vehicles at the Bradford Industrial Museum. You'll see which cars and vans are displayed, learn some Jowett history, and we'll wrap up with some fun facts. So, Jowett's first workshop was in Manningham, Bradford, but most of the cars we're seeing here were made at their factory in Idle. The Jowett factory stood where the Enterprise 5 retail park stands now. If you're from Bradford, the Jowett factory was where the Morrison's shop is now. Let's talk about some of the cars. The oldest one here is the Jowett 6.4 HP light car. They started designing it in 1906 and kept tinkering with it until it was ready for production in 1910. The car we're looking at was actually built in 1914. This car didn't have a steering wheel. Instead, it used a boat-style tiller for steering. Now, onto the newest addition to the collection, the Jowett Jupiter sports car from 1953. The Jowett Jupiter was based on the Jowett Javelin, which won some big races and awards. For example, the Jowett Javelin won victories in the 1949 Monte Carlo Rally and the Spa 54-hour race in Belgium. Plus, the Jowett Javelin was the first brand new car made by a British company after World War II. Jowett used flat twin engines from 1906 all the way to 1954. Between 1910 and 1935, they used flat twin engines in all of their cars and vans. Then, in 1935, they introduced the Jowett Jason with a new horizontally opposed four-cylinder engine called a flat four. Even though the Jowett Jason looked modern with its sloping front, people who liked more traditional cars didn't really like it. Jowett made only 105 of these cars, and today we think only 2 Jowett Jasons still exist, making this car extremely rare. After 1935, Jowett started making cars with both 2-cylinder and 4-cylinder horizontally opposed engines. We call these engines flat twins and flat fours. Jowett made a few commercial vehicles with 4-cylinder engines, but not many. Even when they closed in 1954, Jowett was still using the trusty 2-cylinder engines in their Jowett Bradford series of vehicles. Now let's discover some fun facts about Jowett vehicles. As I mentioned, the very first Jowett car, called the 6.4 horsepower light car, had a boat-like steering handle instead of a steering wheel. The African Adventure. In 1926, 2 Jowett cars crossed 3,000 miles of Africa. This was a time when Africa had hardly any roads. They carried all their fuel and spare parts in a trailer because finding them along the way was nearly impossible. In 1926, this African adventure was an epic journey. The fabric saloon. Have you ever heard of a car with a fabric exterior? Well, the Jowett fabric saloon was covered in a material called rexine. Rexine looks like leather. Too fancy for its own good. I told you about the Jowett Jason. Well, the Jowett Jason DL had a very modern design, but it was too far ahead of its time for most people, since Jowett buyers preferred more traditional looking cars. Jowett didn't sell many of these Jasons. Lookalike cars. You might think the Jowett 8 horsepower and the Jowett 10 horsepower cars are the same, but they're not. The main difference is that the Jowett 8 HP had 2-cylinder engine, and the Jowett 10 HP had a 4-cylinder engine. You can spot the 10 HP model because it has louvers in the bonnet. This Jowett 10 HP is currently being restored. Extra seats cost extra money. After World War II, the British government taxed rear seats in cars. So to keep prices down, Jowett sold the Bradford utility vehicle without rear seats. Jowett called this a utility vehicle, but it's what we call an estate car. Post-war pioneers. The Jowett Javelin was the first brand new British car after the Second World War. While other companies were still selling old designs, the Jowett Javelin was completely fresh. moneymakers. The Jowett Bradford series, with their reliable two-cylinder engines, were a hit. They brought in good profits and kept the company going, unlike the fancier but less profitable Jowett Javelin and Jowett Jupiter models. Missed opportunities. Jowett had some modern designs ready to go in the 1950s. The new models were the Bradford CD, cars and vans, and the Jupiter R4 sports car. However, Jowett closed shop before they could hit the roads. It's a shame because those cars look really modern, even compared to cars of the 1960s. So, if you're ever in Bradford, visit the Bradford Industrial Museum. They've got loads of good stuff to see, including old cars, machines for weaving and printing. They've got stationary steam engines. They've even got a full-size steam locomotive, and you can stand where the driver would have stood. Outside, they've got a mill manager's house furnished in Victorian style and a row of workers' cottages furnished in styles from Victorian era up to the 1970s. They've also got an exhibition about working horses from before motor vehicles took over. It's a fun trip for everyone. Well, that's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.